And when I asked them this question, how do you see AI helping or hindering humanity in the future? And they kind of thought about it, and nonchalantly they said there is a 50-50% of AI wiping out humanity. Now that is a very alarming statement coming from the very people that are creating this.
The thinking at that time was if we looked at our email more than twice a day, it would be too distracting and there's no way we could get our work done. And of course, you fast forward to today, we can't imagine trying to lead without instant access.
Do our audience know the role of data labelists, or what we may call as ghost workers, sitting in remote parts of Africa? They are allegedly paid just cents. Some are exposed to disturbing materials or have to imagine terrible things to train the system. Others are asked to submit hundreds of personal images of their children.
And then always ask question, what is AI not seeing? What human perspective I am adding? And then deliberately practice skills AI can't replicate, like empathy, moral reasoning, and cultural understanding.
Welcome to our podcast series, Culture in Action, where we journey across professions, industries, and borders to discover how the way we work and do business is shaping the world's cultures and impacting human lives. Friends, I'm Lakshmikant, your host from Master G's Heritage. Today's episode is about artificial intelligence and its intersection with culture, moral, and human values. Imagine a world where algorithms curate our art, influence our traditions, or even shape our identities. That world isn't science fiction. It's unfolding around us right now. Do our audience know the role of data labelists, or what we may call as ghost workers, sitting in remote parts of Africa? Those workers are labeling data, moderating content, and training the systems. They are allegedly paid just cents. Some are exposed to disturbing materials or have to imagine terrible things to train the system. Others are asked to submit hundreds of personal images of their children. They are labeling where the human heart sits in the body. Are they doctors? So if that is true, how do we think about cancer vaccines supposedly produced with the help of AI? Are we talking about the true artificial intelligence? I know I talked a little bit about the critic part of AI. There are so many values that I, sitting in business, see from artificial intelligence as well. So we'll navigate this landscape today. I'm joined by three remarkable guests. Cliff Matthews, a senior leader in technology transformation space at one of the largest consulting organizations, and a passionate advocate for cultural heritage. Cliff has spent over 23 years working with leaders around the world. He is known for spotting the patterns behind major shifts, from emerging technologies to changing workplace culture, and turning them into practical insights. Next, we have Bharat Chaturvedi, again a senior AI leader who steers technology at one of the largest banks in the United States, bringing a unique perspective on digital ethics and society. Bharat is also an enthusiastic community leader in New Jersey, practicing and promoting good values of South Asian culture. And finally, I have my co-host, Azara Anna, established media professional, a storyteller, and cultural connector, championing peace and harmony through art and media. So let me come to Azara. What do you think about this topic?
Well, I do believe that artificial intelligence is a double-edged sword. It can bring many, many good things to humans. It can also bring many, many bad things to humans. I would ask the question, though, What does it mean to be human in a rapidly approaching age of AI, transhumanism, technocracy, where the stated goals of the people that control the technology is to fundamentally change the human nature, the human biology, human culture, society, etc. Where is our humanity in this context?
I was reflecting back to in 23 years of working in the professional world and including coaching leaders. I've watched how technologies from spreadsheets to dashboards and now AI change leadership culture. And when I started my professional career, imagine we had dial-up internet to use to sync our email, and we did that twice a day. And the thinking at that time was if we looked at our email more than twice a day, it would be too distracting and there's no way we could get our work done. And of course, you fast forward to today, we can't imagine trying to lead without instant access and constant communication and real-time decision-making tools. So what was once questioned as a productivity risk is become really vital to how we operate. So right now, AI is that same kind of force multiplier, probably, multiplied exponentially. It's not just a tool, it's a shift in how we lead. I think also, though, AI is rewiring expectations. We want
Mhm.
speed and clarity and answers instantly, and pretty much we can get it. We also worry about losing nuance
Mhm.
and empathy and judgment in the process. What happens when we think we can outsource judgment to AI, but we really can't? So, what's my hope is that leaders will treat AI as a co-strategist, not as a shortcut. What's my
Mhm.
worry is that if we outsource too much to algorithms, we lose our capacity for human discernment. And that's the very thing that distinguishes effective leadership from not.
We are risking raising a generation of content consumers rather than content creators,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Because just this last week at my workplace, I was thinking about preparing one presentation, almost like a sales pitch. I didn't have time. What do I do? I could use AI. And then I had a dilemma that, hey, can I provide a storyline and back of the napkin thoughts to the AI engine? And then it could provide something polished. So I was thinking of almost using it as a creative partner rather than me just providing a prompt that, hey, AI, can you provide me the finished product on this particular topic? Because in that case, the result could have been technically competent, but it would lack the spark of true originality, right?
That's right.
So it's really important for us to raise children and even at businesses to provide such kind of trainings that we should use AI as a tool rather than just using AI. We are busy, yes, we all know, but you know, we should use it carefully. We should provide our insights. We should be the innovator. Bharat, thoughts on this topic?
For the first time in human history, we have a generation that developing alongside with the artificial intelligence. Looking at that, like say 93% of Gen Z users, they all using AI tools weekly, but 41% feels anxiety about it. So we can see that they all are using as well as also being anxious about it. The question is, isn't whether AI will change culture. It's whether we are raising a generation that see AI as a creative partner, as you mentioned.
Well, I've actually, in my media work, had the opportunity to talk to genius level AI technicians, the ones that are really developing the very, very advanced tech of this. And when I asked them this question, how do you see AI helping or hindering humanity in the future? And they kind of thought about it, and nonchalantly they said there is a 50-50% of AI wiping out humanity. Now, that is a very alarming statement coming from the very people that are creating this. And that is why I said it's a double-edged sword. Certainly, I see the incredible benefits, the creativity that it allows people who may not otherwise explore some of the skills that were latent in them, but they didn't have the opportunity to use them. I absolutely see that. But I caution people to use this technology wisely, not to give your cognitive power and mind away to it, because like any technology, it's the right use of it that will move a culture forward. What worries me, again, having directly talked with the people responsible for creating some of this tech, is the attitude that they have. And what is their end goal in all of this? I will tell you what it is. They are looking to merge body, physical body, with machine, which they're calling human 2.0. And the stated end goal of that is to achieve immortality. This is why all the wearables are out there today. The Neuralink, our Secretary of Health and Human Services is promoting wearables, which is why I asked in the beginning, what happens to the human people when all of these things aggregate, go into the human body and out into the culture? Where is our God-given, creator-given creativity and imagination, which is the hallmark of a human being?
So I completely agree with what Jara said, that there is definitely a cause of concern that how AI being overutilized, or we are being more dependent, right? There is no machine that tells us like when to drink water or when you are full, right? You have to be aware that whether you got full or not, because how much you can eat something. So the AI can go up to one extent. So it's not in the driving seat. We are the driving seat.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is at its heart a leadership question. And
Mhm.
will we meet, and is this an opportunity for leaders to do the right thing, right, or not? And how will all of us as leaders in our own spheres meet this opportunity to provide governance, to provide clarity, to provide North Stars around how we use the technology? I mean, you were talking earlier about some of the human rights questions around labor that's being, employed in kind of the back end of a lot of the AIs that we're using today. And we don't think about the human element of the employees that are working to make all of those tools work, right? We log into whichever model we've chosen and we use it and we're like, "Oh, isn't this lovely? It's giving me what I need." But we don't think about everything that's going into making that happen, and is that being done in an ethical way? Some of these industries have said that they can self-govern, and we've seen that that doesn't work. And so, what governance will be in place, what leadership will make sure that we're staying on the right path, or hopefully, understanding what the different paths are and taking the right one. I think that's going to be critical.
Well, I think, Cliff, that having again done these interviews, and they have stated on paper, it's not like I'm making this up or thinking maybe this is what they're going to do. They have stated in what they call their reset, reimagine, recreate, reinvent program in their 2030 agenda. I mean, you can go online and see very, very clearly what their stated goals are. And again, it's human 2.0. They are not considering the human side of it. You talked about labor. Now, the leaders in the robotics field, they're out there trying to develop millions upon millions of robots to
Mhm.
displace what? The work labor force. What happens at that point? Well, they got that all figured out. They're going to put all of the workers on universal basic income so they can just sit at home and, use even more AI. But then I would ask this question from a societal point of view: if your labor force is mostly staying at home collecting UBI, universal basic income, there is no consumerism going on. What's going to happen to the businesses if no one is going out because they don't have the funds to go out and buy anything? That
Right.
is a disastrous cultural event, societal collapse right there, just in that one point. Never mind about anything else.
I think about one of the stories back from my village in India, because I grew up in the state of Punjab, where we have a religion called Sikhism. And I heard from one of my friends that about a year back, he simply Googled who is Sikh, and the engine produced an image based on its training data, right? The guy with a turban, with a beard, with some jewelry pieces worn. There was a mark on the forehead, and then as the Gen AI models designed to learn from the user feedback and new data, which is largely distorted, by the way, I like to believe that biased, politically motivated these days specifically, the image they produce changed over time. In this case, the users began to prompt AI with the request like remove the mark on the forehead, remove the jewelry piece, and many other modifications. And after a year, AI produced a completely different image. So, how are we saving our history?
If we take in the simple language term, this is something mathematical function which is created on top of some data being fed, right? So it's not its own creativity, its own, but it is like what we feed it. So a different persons feed different set of data, which is their perspective, but there is another aspect of it. Some of the hidden gems are still there. Like we can see that there are a lot of ancient books or ancient cultures, which is not yet available in mainstream and digitization. Using the Gen AI, we can leverage this and bring everything back to the digital or make it like aware more people about it so they can learn it and evolve it. So this is different way of.
So that brings us to the ethic question that how do we use it ethically?
Yeah, Lakshmi, I'm reminded of the conversation that you and I had the other day, where if you think about what large language models really are and Gen AI, they are word predictors, or maybe in the case of generation or image generation, they are pixel predictors. But they're predicting based on what you've put in, what are the right responses. So I give it a question, it's predicting what the words are to respond to my question. It's drawing upon millions and maybe billions of data points to be able to hopefully accurately predict what's the right next word.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you think about the impact of that predictive model and how it is generating what we see as content, it has the effect of boiling everything down to the lowest common denominator. And so what you see is an averaging of all of the content that's coming out of Gen AI. So all things equal, probably very little creativity, very little
Mm-hmm.
uniqueness. And I think and that just sort of is what it is, right? You have to understand that about the tool. And I think discussions like this raise awareness around to the point of the double-edged sword and making sure that we're all aware of what we're putting in and what we're getting out. The creativity and the uniqueness comes in when it's the human part. So how am I prompting the AI? What information am I giving it to shape the way that it's generating the content that I want? So for example, if I want to generate an image, like you were talking about, what information am I giving it to generate that image? And am I doing that in a way that is unique? Or am I doing it in a way that just says, generate me an image of a person? I'm going to get a really average image when I do that, right? And so I think understanding the way that the tools work and then using that as a way to shape how we keep our humanity in it is really important.
Mm-hmm. How do we, Cliff, how do we create trust in AI? Or maybe there is an over trust. I mean, where do we draw the line? Because are the companies ethically using, to your
Mm.
point, are they feeding the data in a non-political, unbiased way?
Lakshmi, I think you hit the nail on the head with, are we over trusting the outputs from AI?
Yes.
Mhm.
Um, I know that I have a bias thinking that what AI is giving me is unbiased. So, for example, I might ask ChatGPT to help me select a software to use given a certain use case. And I'm like, hey, here's all the things that I need the software to do. Here's some parameters. Here's some things that are preferences of mine. Can you help me think about which software that I want to use? And my assumption when I get a response back is probably that it's an unbiased response based on all the data it could find. But what we know is that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
And so when we over trust and we think, well, it's just giving me an unbiased answer when it really isn't, that's when we allow ourselves to be manipulated.
I have no trust in AI whatsoever, the ones that are out there, ChatGPT and why, because I've actually done experiments asking, taking on ChatGPT or Grok or whatever, right? And so I have pointed out certain passages in books, right, that written by the author, stated very clearly, but because, and I asked them, is this information true? And ChatGPT or Grok comes back and says, no, it's not. Why? Because those are programmed by people using code to push a specific agenda. So I've done this any number of times. I know other people that have done this any number of times. So you cannot always trust at all what any of these AI platforms out there that are very popular now. The only one that I would trust, because I know the developer, he's not attached to any company, he's just a good-hearted human being, is it's called Enoch. And that gentleman has made a point to aggregate, to integrate all the sort of ancient medicinals from the planet, the ancient cultural traditions, and he's put it under that Enoch. It also gives general answers, but he is very afraid that all of that knowledge, Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, all of that will soon go away because those general chat GPT have a particular point of agenda to push.
So there is a South Asian culture and then there is a Western culture, right? Sometimes we kind of compare and contrast. In South Asia, the way I think about it is because they believe in the collective progress of the society, they're still in the developing stages. They push their children too early to learn more about AI without too much caring about the privacy issues or autonomy matters. While in the Western society, we care more about the privacy and autonomy, and might keep the children away from learning some of these latest technology. I mean, are we creating a societal divide?
Yeah, I mean, Lakshmi, the short answer to your question is probably yes. I mean, I don't know if divide's the right word, but a difference in culture
Mhm.
because of how different areas of the world are dealing with adoption of AI. Singapore is an example of AI adoption with some governance around it. I mean, we could debate, whether it's optimal, but at least they're sort of doing some governance around it. They're trying not to wait and just see what happens. They've launched National AI Strategy 2.0 that targets healthcare, smart estates, education, safety, logistics, and they're doing it in a way where they're growing AI talent. I think their goal is from 4,500 to 15,000 professionals who are focused around this future of Singapore's AI. They're doubling down on high performance computing power, making sure that they've got the power that they need for it. But they're also embedding risk-based governance into every piece of it as they go. And I think that's something that's really key. We've been talking about the governance, but Singapore is an example of they're recognizing the need for this and trying to embed it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what policy-driven leadership looks like, and
Mhm.
I I hope that other areas of the world see these bright, spots in how AI is being adopted in a responsible way and learn from it. I say
Yep.
hope because,
Yep.
will it is probably the question that remains to be seen.
Well, in this
Mhm.
country, talk about various cultures. This country, in the recent past big, beautiful bill, what some would call big, ugly bill, there is a provision in that bill that says that AI in its rapid development cannot be stopped by anybody at all for the next 10 years. What does that tell you? These tech people who really don't seem to have a human soul in them, if they can say, oh, well, the 50-50 might kill humanity, they're out there doing all of this without any guardrails of anybody. They can't be stopped for the next 10 years, and they've been funded by $500 billion. That's a terrible situation to me.
Mm-hmm. Before we end, I just want to come to you once more for any call to action points for our audience, as parents, as educators, as business leaders. What do you say, Bharat?
Yeah, teach young people to use AI as a creative partner, not a replacement for thinking. And then always ask question, what is AI not seeing? What human perspective I am adding? And then deliberately practice skills AI can't replicate, like empathy, moral reasoning, and cultural understanding.
Very well said. Cliff?
Yeah, Lakshmi, when I think about individual leaders and what can you do to make a difference in the trajectory of AI and whether it's used for good or not, right? I think there's a couple things that are really important. One is making sure that you are helping your teams develop AI fluency and judgment around how they're using it.
Mm.
Just having an understanding of how the tool works and what some of the risks around the tool can be, whatever that tool is, can help the team member make sure that they're doing it in a way that's ethical for themselves and that they're approaching it with the right level of judgment.
Yep. Azara?
Well, I would urge people of all ages, young and old and in between, to not give your power away to AI or any other tech, to try to use it, wisely. Use it when it's really appropriate for you to get any task done, but to always depend on it to get your creative output out there or anything else is going to be very deadly to the human mind and to our culture in general.
Thank you to our guests for sharing such thoughtful perspectives on the intersection of human values, culture, and artificial intelligence. Your insights and practical tips have given our audience meaningful ways to approach AI with both curiosity and integrity, ensuring that technology serves to enrich, again, enrich, not diminish our shared humanity. Thank you, everyone, again, and until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.